Hello pilots! After the second Chicane-Tula event was successfully completed, this time with 11 pilots and a victory in under an hour on the side of Pala, I wanted to take it a little easier. In order to win the big battles, it is usually useful to master the small ones, by which I mean a round of Altercation. In this mission there's only one friendly and one hostile airport, some vehicle depots and so also ground troops. There are no ships. It is the smallest prefabricated battle and in my opinion is well suited to explain the game mechanics of such missions. In my attempts to master the mission solo without dying, I often failed. It's frustrating every time, but I always gain new insights. I fly on the side of the BDF, which is not a faction preference, rather a habit. Before I started the mission, I set the starting rank to 2. So that I can fly a chicane at the beginning of the mission. A direct approach to the enemy airport is critical as ground troops and airframes will then fire at you. After a few failed attempts, I decided on a different tactic. I want to approach the enemy airport from behind as undetected as possible and destroy its air defenses, helipads and revetments in one fell swoop, so that no more enemy airframes can take off. This is also important in larger battles. It's less about helipads and revetments, but about medium aircraft hangars. These allow medusas and dark creatures to appear, which you don't want to give your opponent. In order to take out the helipads and revetments as quickly as possible, I decided to use the following loadout. Internally, I take AGM-48s with me as usual, with which I try to kill enemy air defenses at close range. Inside the subwings I take a total of 4 AGM-68s with me, 2 helipads, 2 revetments that can work out. With 130 kg of TNT explosive power, the target should be destroyed in one hit. Instead of ECM jammers, which you don't need with Altercation because no radar guided missiles are fired, I take linchpins on the outer pylons. I don't want to hunt down enemy airframes, nor am I afraid I need S1s to defend against them. I show the complete course of the mission with accelerated sections. Down in the cockpit I often fade in tech view shots. I created this with a NoBlackBox Mod, which is 7EP3S developed and is constantly improving. So, off to the cockpit. I start from K92 highway strip and head straight south. I try to avoid the attention of the opponent as much as possible. On one attempt I had 2 crickets that hunted me down because I probably flew a little too far west. This time I tried to fly as close as possible to the mountain, which worked well so far. I tried to use my resources as efficiently as possible on such missions. The less I have to defend myself, the better. After I had approached the enemy's airport, I had to scout out an enemy SAM position. This could cause me problems during the attack on the airport. I discover it by climbing briefly over the top of the mountain in front of me. The enemy doesn't sleep, locks me on as a target and shoots S1s. I could fend them off with flares, but I just dive back behind the mountain so that the enemy missiles smash against the rock face. The actual attack on the SAM position is a bit more difficult. Since I only have 8 AGM-48s with me, I have to use them sparingly. The idea is to get so close to the target that one missile is enough, because the opponent lacks the time to react. I have to fly as low as possible and use every bump as cover. Unfortunately, the SAM unit manages to fend off my incoming AGM-48. very annoying. So I had to follow up. Maybe one missile would have been enough this time, but to be on the safe side I fired 2. So a total of 3 AGM-48s for a SAM position, that's not efficient. The enemy's main defensive unit is the aero sentry spec position right next to the airfield. Here I try the same tactic again. Fly as close to the ground as possible and then fight the target at close range. Since aero sentry specs tend to put incoming missiles out of action confidently, I fired 3 as a precaution. The good thing about AGM-48s or optically guided weapons in general is that you can turn away immediately after firing the weapon to take cover. After the aero sentry spec unit was destroyed, I first tried to build up some distance to the airport. In others, chicanes try spawning on the helipads. The stupid thing about it was that I was within their weapon range, and yes, chicanes can use their 30mm cannon even when they are on the ground. In addition, the aero sentry spec hit me and I wanted to avoid further damage. From a safe distance I was able to fire at the helipads with AGM-68s and destroy them. The SAM position, which shot S1s in my direction at a distance, I could easily fend off with flares. The enemy airport had no more air defenses and no more chicanes and tarantulas could take off. So the situation was relaxed. I gave up the low flight and looked for the revetments. I recognized an LCV-45 recon truck. This is only light armored, but can still cause damage to the chicane, which is why I neutralize it with a linchpin missile. I was also able to put the radar truck on the airfield out of action with my linchpin, with 2 tall already joyfully opening fire. A cricket has just spawned and was about to make its way to the runway. On the ground, however, it is easy to stop airframes with linchpins. Now the way was clear to destroy the revetments with AGM-68s, and then to detonate an ammunition truck with a linchpin. Overused has brought me down many times, so I decided to turn around and make my way back to the K92 highway strip. Then I realized that I still have a few missiles left. On my way back there are a few stationary air defense units that I tried to neutralize. It was an Anvil and a SAM unit guarding a vehicle depot. I picked up both of them as target and tried to get close to them above the ground. I only had 2 AGM-48s left. I had my doubts that this would be enough, but it was definitely worth a try. As it turned out, the SAM unit was able to fend off the incoming AGM-48. I tried to build up distance to attack the SAM position with linchpins from a safe distance. I usually use 4 linchpins to destroy a SAM unit. The opponent can shoot down 3 missiles on their way. 1 hit is enough for me.
VRS.
It succeeded. The enemy unit was destroyed. I didn't want to go back with another handful of linchpins, so I set my sights on another SAM position and approached it at almost 5 kilometers. I fired all the remaining linchpins, so 5 this time, which was successful. Now it was time for the flight home. Since the enemy had no chance to spawn airframes and Altercation has no other threats in store for you, basically nothing more could happen to me. And so it was. Land, get into a new airframe, the old one had scratches in the paint, and get on the road again. This time, however, I didn't have any AGM-68s with me, but more linchpins. They were no longer any big targets. On my approach to the enemy vehicle depots, I cleaned up a bit on the way. The ground troops also did their part. I now try to not fire at targets that are already under fire, precisely to save ammunition. Right next to the first vehicle depot, the enemy has placed an ammunition container. Or it's slipped away, containers have no friction. Ammunition trucks and containers are in nuclear option what red barrels are in other games. They make a boom when you shoot at them and break a lot around the perimeter. So I tried to explode the container to destroy the vehicle depot. I missed the points for the depot, but the battle was already won anyway. On the second vehicle depot I shot 5 AGM-48s. However, my memory was clouded. For a vehicle depot you need 6 AGM-48s. Greetings go out to Ezekiel 24R. So I followed up with some linchpins and then destroyed the pillbox with a cannon. On my approach to the other vehicle depots, I noticed that new vehicles were spawning. I quickly took them as targets and destroyed them with a cannon.
VRS.
Now it was time to destroy the remaining vehicle depots. In the meantime, another chicane has arrived, which fortunately did not hit me during his attacks on the vehicle depots.
VRS.
As mentioned at the beginning, Altercation is a fairly simple mission, but I can highly recommend it to all newcomers because it offers a good introduction and basic knowledge can be transferred to larger battles. I thank you for watching, wish you a lot of fun flying and fly safe.